Two. Got me? Good? Okay, good.
Testing 1, 2, 3. We can get everybody. All right.
Iowa City, Iowa.
Yeah. Yeah, it's still morning. Good morning. Thank you for coming. We're going to talk a little bit about the dollars that both the federal government and the state government have given the city of Detroit to accelerate our lead service line replacement program. And let me just tell you a little story before I start introducing people that are going to come up. The first year, 2-3 years ago, we applied for this grant, and my deputy director, Sam Smalley, wrote the grant. I thought it was one of the best grants that we had ever written, and we didn't win. It was nationally competitive grant proposal, and we didn't win. And we went back and took a look at the grant and said, we can make this better. And there's three themes that run throughout DWSD as well as this grant proposal. Number one, we wanted to deliver clean, safe water. The cleanest in America, I would argue, and we're doing that. We also want to create opportunity for Detroiters by hiring them to do this work, by hiring contractors to do this work, and by building capacity by hiring small minority Detroit-based contractors who also hire Detroiters to do this work. And then the third theme that runs throughout the grant is it has to be affordable to our ratepayers. I cannot pass $100 million a year for the next 10 years on to ratepayers. And so we have to find money to be able to do this that keeps water affordable. And we've done that. We have about $90 million that we're working with right now. We intend to do 8,000 lines this year and at least that many for the next 10 years. Now, when I looked at my team and said, who are you inviting to this press conference? I said, do you know that they're all going to be back there fighting each other? And let me tell you why. You got my boss, Mayor Duggan, who's from the executive branch. And then you got Fred Durhall, my favorite council person, from the legislative branch. And they've never fought. And I'm telling you from experience, I was on Detroit City Council, and we fought all the time with the mayor, and we didn't always get the right result. We're getting the right result. Secondly, we have regulators from the federal government, EPA, and from the state that you're going to hear from, the state of Michigan, from Eagle. Now, I'm only allowed to operate a utility based on a permit from the state. They are good at what they do, which is regulating my operation to make sure we're doing everything possible to make sure that we have the safest, cleanest water in the nation. But they're also partners. When I call with a problem, they're here with a solution to help us get through it. So they're not just regulators. And the same thing with EPA. You think they'd be here fighting with us over regulation, and they're not. They're here as a partner. And then we have Sylvia O'Donnell, who is a community organizer by training and by trade, and she's also a water advocate that really knows how to hold me accountable. But if I call her and say, meet me in Lansing, she's sitting side by side with DWSD trying to get legislation approved that will provide funding for our customers. And then finally, you're going to hear from one of the subcontractors that's on this particular job. You're going to hear that she's a second generation. Her family was in construction and demolition, and she moved over into the water space, became a subcontractor under a prime, and now, because of this Water Infrastructure Improvement for the Nation Act grant is going to become prime in the next 30 days or so and be able to even hire more Detroiters to be able to work on this. And so we're not fighting. We're all together. We have one cause, and that's to make sure Detroiters are getting clean, safe, affordable water. And you're going to hear that come out today. So with that said, I'm going to introduce the Honorable Mayor Mike Duggan to say a few words. Thank you.
All right, well, if I'm with Gary Brown in a neighborhood, it means that neighborhood is getting permanently safer, cleaner water. And it's really a great thing to be able to do. Everybody in Michigan knows the tragedy if you let the lead pipes contaminate your water. And here in Detroit, we've got the cleanest water in America. But the physical properties of lead is that eventually there will be an issue. And rather than wait for tragedy to hit, the Biden-Harris administration said, we're going to act on the infrastructure. We're going to come up with funds to replace these lead pipes. And we are really pleased to have the EPA Assistant Administrator for Water, Bruno Pigott, here, that come here and see what those policies are doing. And then, and Bruno grew up in Detroit. He's a Michigan State Spartan who made good. Indeed. And is coming back to see what's happening. But we also are being supported by Governor Gretchen Whitmer and her funding, who I guess is another Michigan State Spartan who made good. And between all of this help, we are replacing 8,000 lead lines a year in this city. So the families will know for generations that the water coming into these homes will be pure. But we wanted to make sure Detroiters were doing the work to rebuild the city. And between the workers that DWSD has hired directly and the Detroit contractors that are here, it's members of our own community rebuilding that. And so it is always great when the federal government recognizes what is happening. The EPA administrators don't want to go to the cities where things are going badly. They want to come to places that are national models. And right now, what's happening in the city of Detroit with the lead line replacement is a national model. And I know, Bruno, you probably were a little surprised at this. He was also a former city council member in Iowa City, Iowa. I don't know about there, but in 11 years, I have not vetoed a city council resolution. So the mayor and the council getting along is not something that happens. It happens everywhere. But we're really pleased to have you here. And we want to thank President Biden and Vice President Harris. For years, this country they used to have Infrastructure Week in Washington year in and year out, and nothing happened. It was a joke. And when this administration came in, Infrastructure Week now means that the lives of real people are getting improved. So please welcome the head water man in the United States, Bruno Pigott.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mayor Duggan, Gary, Sam, Travis, Sylvia, Rhonda. Thank you for being here today to share your perspectives and highlight the important work you champion as we work toward this common goal, which is lead-free Detroit. I also want to acknowledge Larissa Richardson, who joins us from Congresswoman Tlaib's office, and the great work she's doing. Karen Shannon, who's here representing Senator Peters. Representative Tlaib and Senator Peters are great champions for Detroit and the state of Michigan. You know, honest to God, I wasn't really supposed to be here today. I had bigger plans, you see. I was going to play right field for the Detroit Tigers after Al Kaline retired. I was going to join Eddie Brinkman and Aurelio Rodriguez and Willie Horton and Gates Brown, the whole team. I was prepared for that. I played stickball in the alley behind our house in the parking lot of Merchandise Mart and imitated Al Kaline's swing as often as I could. When I went to Jesu Church on Sundays, I didn't just pray to God, I bargained with him. If he would just let Mickey Lolich and the Tigers beat Jim Palmer and the Orioles. I'd clean my room, I'd help with the dishes, I'd do what Mom asked me to do. My first inkling that this might not work out was when my dad and I were playing catch in the backyard of our house on Warrington Drive, and he asked me what I wanted to do when I grew up. I looked at him as if he was crazy. What? Didn't he know? I was going to play for the Tigers. He said, maybe I should have a backup plan. A lot has changed since my father gave me that advice. I grew up, I went to Michigan State, found an entirely different career, and now am at EPA. Detroit has seen its fair share of changes as well. The city suffered through some hard times, but it never lost its soul. And now it's coming back due to the hard work of Mayor Duggan, Gary Brown, Sam, and all of the members of DWSD. The transformation downtown is remarkable, and the revitalization of the Michigan Central train station and hosting the NFL draft made it clear to the rest of the world what we've known for years. This city, this gritty metropolis, is back. And it's not just back because of the obvious signs, new arenas, filled storefronts, or even because the Lions are truly badass. Nope, it's not for that. It's because this city's leadership, the mayor and Gary Brown, are not just investing in what we see above ground, in the gleaming, refurbished downtown. It's because they are aggressively committed to improving important but invisible infrastructure by replacing the estimated 80,000 lead service lines that are buried underground in this city. Here in Detroit, the Biden-Harris administration is investing $90 million in ARPA funds, drinking water state revolving funds, $1 million pilot grant from Eagle, and a $5 million EPA WIN Act grant. These investments will benefit residents and businesses of this great city. Detroit has a large stock of houses that were built before 1945 and are served by lead service lines. And that's why this city is taking a neighborhood by neighborhood approach, using data to identify vulnerable populations and replacing their lead service lines. And this means that all Detroiters will be protected from the dangers of lead exposure when they turn on their tap. This, right here, is the North Star for EPA's Office of Water under the Biden-Harris administration. It starts with the bipartisan infrastructure law, which is providing $50 billion to help communities across the country replace and upgrade aging water infrastructure, including $15 billion to remove lead service lines. To accelerate access for federal funding for lead service line replacements, EPA has developed a robust water technical assistance program to ensure that no community is left behind. I'm really proud of our Get the Lead Out initiative, which we call GLOW. When Vice President Harris introduced GLOW earlier this year, we emphasized our common vision, which is replacing 100% of lead service lines fast. And yesterday, we announced 2 communities in Michigan, Ferndale and Ypsilanti, as part of this initiative. I can't wait to see what we achieve together here in this city of Detroit. Now, I don't know whether there's a youngster living in my old house over on Warrington Drive who dreams the same dreams I had for playing for the Tigers. Maybe that child has dreams of playing alongside Cade Cunningham, and certainly Cade could use the help these days, on the Pistons. Or maybe she has dreams of playing soccer for the Detroit City Football Club. Regardless, I know if my old house is served by a lead service line, because this city is taking action right now, any child that lives there will grow up free from the scourge of lead and will be able to chase his or her dreams due to the work of Mayor Duggan and Gary Brown replacing lead service lines throughout this city. This commitment, combined with our investment, will ensure the continued blossoming of my favorite city, Detroit, Michigan. Thank you for allowing me to be here and share this moment.
Yeah, good morning. I'm Travis Boskell. I'm a Deputy Director at the Michigan Department of Environment, Great Lakes, and Energy, otherwise known as EAGLE. I want to thank leaders like those in the Biden-Harris administration, Mayor Duggan's administration, and council, congressional delegation members, and then the community leaders that are here today. Of course, all my team members at Eagle as well. You know, Michigan's a state that's home to over 21% of the world's fresh surface water, and we have an incredible responsibility to protect our water resources for current and future generations. Michiganders and businesses throughout the state rely on our waters for drinking, recreation, and their livelihoods. And Michiganders know what happens when we don't make these necessary investments like Detroit's doing here to protect those resources. It's so rewarding to be on a team of public servants led by Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer that wake up every day dedicated to protecting public health and our environment. And regardless of where they live, every family deserves to know that their water is safe to drink, their Great Lakes are protected, and their infrastructure will function properly. I'm here to talk about some of the investments that we're making at a state level and that our partners in the Biden-Harris administration have supplied to help fulfill that promise. Over the last few years, we've sent unprecedented resources to communities to help them rebuild and modernize their water infrastructure. Since 2019, Michigan, using state and federal resources like the bipartisan infrastructure law, has invested more than $4 billion in water infrastructure, funding local projects in hundreds of communities. And this project in Detroit is just an incredible example of what can happen when you put together that community will and all those sources of funding to really achieve something to help people. And nearly a quarter of those resources have helped remove lead service lines and continued Eagle's work to implement the strongest and most protective lead and copper rule in the nation. And we're not done yet. Earlier this year, in partnership with the governor, we announced a $290 million expansion of the Mine Clean Water Plan. And then just 2 weeks ago, the governor signed yet another balanced bipartisan budget that will enable us to offer another $1 billion to communities for local water infrastructure projects like lead service line removal. So removing lead service lines and ensuring access to clean drinking water is #1 priority for the governor. Together, in partnership with communities like Detroit and the Biden-Harris administration, we can achieve these goals. Thank you.
Well, good morning. I am Councilmember Fred Durhart. It's an honor to be here today. Thank you to Mayor Duggan, Director Brown from DWSD, the EPA, as well as Eagle, and everyone who is here today. I remember serving in the legislature prior to being on city council during one of the biggest water crises that our state has ever faced. And I remember having conversations with representatives as well as state senators in the legislature of how we move forward, how we fix our infrastructure, something that's outdated, and how we ensure safe, clean drinking water for our residents. And one of the biggest discussions revolved around dollars and resources to be able to fix our broken infrastructure here in the state of Michigan. And so when we talk about local government needing those resources, we are grateful and we are thankful for the partnerships, particularly from the Biden and Harris administration, as well as Governor Whitmer, who has put millions now into our infrastructure across the state, but particularly here in the city of Detroit. As a father, one of the things that I think about when I talk about the future is if my children will have safe, clean drinking water. This is something that we take for granted each and every day. But when we look at the thousands of lives that have been affected even through the Flint water crisis, nothing is more important than ensuring that our children have safe, clean drinking water. And so I am happy to be here today as we continue to push the city of Detroit forward. This is huge for our neighborhoods. This is huge for our residents. And we can continue to say here in the city of Detroit that we are providing the best water in the entire world to our residents, and it is safe and clean. So thank you all for being here today. I look forward to continuing building our infrastructure. Let's go, Detroit. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Brown, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Pigott, and all of the folks that are here gathered today. My name is Sylvia Orduno. I am a longtime community organizer with Michigan Welfare Rights Organization, and I serve as director of the People's Water Board Coalition. And I can tell you that this has been a long time we've been waiting for. We have been working on the water affordability issue. Personally, I've been doing it since 1997. But tied in with that problem has been the issue that residents have had for many years about the quality of their drinking water. And the worry is about, is the water safe to drink? I can tell you that this announcement today and the resources that have come from the EPA through the federal government and the Biden-Harris administration are just critical. We know that we cannot afford to have these debts added onto our water bills, just as Director Brown was talking about. And so the only way this could have been happening is, again, with support from the federal government. For many years, many Michigan communities and townships, cities as well, have been worried about their exposure to lead in their homes. But also, when we say time and time again that water is a human right, we really mean it. And I think that what we've got to realize is that this is a value that's not out of reach, but something that is achievable. And what is happening here today, through the funding, through the support, through the expedited work, is demonstrating that when you commit the action with the value, it makes it possible to say that, look, Michigan is really working towards ensuring that we've got the human right to water, and Detroit is leading that fight right now. It really makes a difference. Again, when we've got vulnerable households with babies, children, senior, people with disabilities, people with limited mobility, who are saying, look, I can't afford my bills, and on top of it, I'm worried about my drinking water. We've seen very front and center what it looks like in Flint and Benton Harbor in particular, when communities of color are directly impacted. People don't know what to do, and you can only manage off bottled water for so long. So the fact that we've now got these additional resources to expedite this work and link it with the public health data is very critical, because we know coming out of the pandemic that a lot of our families, a lot of our households got the illnesses that contributed to long-term COVID, but also had a lot of health problems beforehand that led up to it. Our drinking water is one of the things we should be able to rely on safely, and the actions that are taking place here are very much important for us. We also know that we still struggle with a lot of water insecurity in places, and so as this work is happening, we want to continue to have conversations with residents about other things that they can participate in, like the Lifeline program here in Detroit that's making a difference for residents. And so we just want to, again, really commend the EPA, commend Eagle and DWSD and the Biden-Harris administration for all you've been doing to help Detroit. It's mattered, and we're here today to say thank you.
Good morning. I'm Rhonda Grayer, CEO of W.T. Stevens Construction. We're a small woman-owned second-generation construction company, and I just want to say thank you to the Biden administration, the governor's office, EPA, Eagle, Mayor Duggan, Gary Brown, and our mentor, Lakeshore Global, for giving us an opportunity to be a prime contractor in the lead service line program. Thank you.
Thank you. We can take a few questions now.
Can you talk about volume, Gary? From what listening to the speakers, 8,000 lines for the next 10 years. I heard somebody say 80,000 might be the figure that's estimated. Are you twofold? Are you confident the assessment of the need is done? Is it 80,000? And also, where will the money come from to make sure we can continue at this pace?
Yeah, we're confident that we're minimum 80,000. We still have about 20,000 lines that are undetermined, so we're treating them as they would be lead service lines until we can verify that they're not. But most of the data that is coming in from the lines that we're excavating right now show that the number's going to be pretty close to 80,000.
Two quick follows, if I may. How do you prioritize over the next 10
Yeah, that's an excellent question. We have 2 elementary schools within blocks from here, so we're going to where kids are, number one. We're going to where seniors are, and we're going into neighborhoods first that are disadvantaged economically, that would not be able to afford to do this work. So there's some other factors that go into that. Also, the sheer number of lines that might be in a community where we get the biggest bang for our buck. Where there's more than 70% of the lines that will turn out to be lead. So those are the major factors that we factor in when we're choosing a neighborhood to go to, and we're in 20 different neighborhoods right now.
Are we doing any filtering systems? Flint, Georgia, and Illinois, at least what they did is gave people filters. We have not sounded the alarm, and thank God we haven't, because we don't want to look like that. But what are we doing in order for it?
Yeah.
When I go home, when I got to go to the shower this morning, was it safe? And, do we have money for the filter?
Yes, it was safe. Yes, we do have money for filters. We have a very robust community engagement, unit that's going into neighborhoods, explaining to homeowners exactly what's going to happen during this process, and we do deliver filters and pitchers at that time.
How often you test the quality?
Yeah, and that's the outstanding point. We're required to verify to EPA and Eagle through testing of sampling houses. And I can tell you now that we just finished our last round of testing, and we're well below the actionable level at 9 parts per billion. So the water is absolutely safe.
So is that, how are you determining what city, or what part of the cities are qualified for filters?
Yeah.
And how do they?
In any of the 20 neighborhoods that we go into, they all qualify for filters. That's a part of the community engagement that we explain to them. We explain how to use the pitcher, the pitchers that we're using as filters, and we will replace cartridges as needed.
And what are we doing about? I know about Don's. Everybody's not equipped. We know now. What are we doing about making sure the community is engaged?
Great question. We're going door to door. When we came into this neighborhood, we came here 40 days ahead of time. We go door to door. We have community meetings, and we explain the process from A to Z. And we stay with these homeowners through the end, all the way through restoration. And we went into our home today of a house that's been finished, and they could not be more pleased with the way that this program has been rolled out.
Final question. So you have a wonderful black contractor, but what are we doing about contractors in regards to the grass or the landscaping and some of the follow-up?
Yeah, the contractor that you see is responsible for restorations, for replacing a line, for community engagement, for the whole ball of wax. So they're doing an outstanding job.
And Gary, let me say this.
Yes.
So I was over on East Warren over the weekend, and I had citizens come up to me from the Morningside neighborhood unsolicited, saying they just did replace the lead lines in our neighborhood. And usually in this city, somebody comes up and tells you about a construction crew. I know, oh, I'm going to get an earful. They said they were so efficient, they were so polite, so quick, did such a nice job. All you have to do is randomly go through and just talk to homeowners, and I think you're going to find that the process that DWSD is going through right now is really being very well handled.
Can I just add one quick comment, and that is, I travel around the country, and I see cities all across the nation. What the mayor has done and what Gary Brown is committed to doing and is doing that we witnessed today in a private homeowner's place is a model of what we want cities to do around the country. They are literally knocking on people's doors. That's not just a phrase. They bring people out into the street to talk to them about what they're going to do. And we're writing a whole new rule. And you know our model in writing this rule is the city of Detroit, Michigan, because of the leadership of these two men and the efforts they're putting in. It goes above and beyond what other cities are doing.
Thank you for those kind words. So we're going to end the Q&A, and our contractor has made available a home that we're actually installing a new line in. If you'd like to get some photos of that process, they're going to have this young man behind you that I found out was a Columbia graduate operate that machine. Thank you.